What's up, Robert Nation? Alright, so this is my first video on this channel, and as you could probably tell by the title, I think it's probably going to be a pretty sad video, but let's jump right into it. So, I was going to bed tonight recently, and I was really having a lot of trouble falling asleep, and I was getting pretty sad, and so I was actually thinking about this. So, I just think it's really interesting how the way we talk about it feels somehow linguistically constantly in the past tense. I feel like when we talk about going through this, when we ever say, yeah, I thought about it, I've experienced this, it's always like with some sort of context, like it was, 2 years ago, or it was when I was 16, or it was like some sort of adolescent phase. I can kind of think of a few reasons for this. To avoid concern. You don't want to just garner sympathy when sometimes you're just talking about a fact, that it's something that you experience. And also because it's something that you can really swing around when sometimes it's not like, it's not like you're planning it. It's not like you want to do it. It's not like you're even at risk of doing this. But sometimes it's something that you think about, which I think is probably really a natural association with depression. I think it's really wild how even in normal moments of sadness, any kind of semblance of happiness can be totally erased. The mind can feel so totalitarian. Like, I feel like whenever I'm really depressed, and I try to boost my spirits and think of better times recently. I thought at the time, like, this is what always happens in my mind. I think, let me think of the past week. I've had a good week, and it feels like all of my memories of the past week get erased. Like I'm trying to remember the dream that I just had the previous night. My mind becomes extremely clouded by this sort of weird kind of sadness and apathy that's associated with being sad or being depressed. I'm not trying to garner sympathy here. So when we say, I thought about doing it, it's kind of wild. Like if I told someone I thought about doing it, um, I feel like it's assumed that I'm only saying this because I thought about doing it 2 years ago. And if I thought about doing it 1 week ago, I would wait until 2 years later to say I thought about doing it. But sometimes it is, I thought about doing it 2 weeks ago. You know? I just think that's interesting. Now, it's not like I'm in danger. I don't think I'm in danger. It's just a place that, my mind goes to out of habit. Or really, I feel like a lot of people's minds go to out of habit. We don't talk about it because it seems dangerous. It seems dangerous and it seems concerning, It seems dangerous and it seems concerning. Um, it seems like we're trying to garner sympathy. I promise I'm not. I can't get this out of my mind. Like, I feel like this is so fascinating. I feel like any struggle with mental health is always presented in the past tense unless it's not explicitly stated that it's happening right now, and specifically a few years ago. I feel like any struggle with mental health, even though now we've accepted it, is still associated with adolescence. It's like, oh, I was depressed, I had bipolar, you know. And it's like, obviously it was worse in my adolescence. Everything in adolescence is worse emotionally, mentally. Everything is worse. It's like when you're a teenager, it's kind of ironic because you both don't know who you are and you are an extremified version of who you are exactly then. Just pumped up to 100. You're sad as shit, you're horny as hell, but also when you're happy as hell, and you only want to be this for the rest of your life. And so I feel like that kind of gets tripped up in the mental health discussion. But sometimes it's a thing that's happening right now. Sometimes it's a thing that happened last night. Sometimes it's a thing that you thought about last night, not seriously considered. Maybe it is something you seriously considered. Not really for me personally, but you know, I just think it's kind of wild, and it feels like it's just like a natural place that the mind goes to when in a state of serious depression. Earlier tonight, I was having a lot of difficulty sleeping, and I was thinking about a few things that a friend of mine had said to me that were kind of mean, and they were getting me down. Uh, and then, my mind was just kind of spiraling into this sadness, and it was overwhelming. It literally felt like my whole entire mind was clouded and contextualized by this total misery. And I thought about it just tonight, literally 2 hours ago. I thought about it, and I immediately discarded the thought. It's just like, no, like I'm being dramatic here right now, no. But this isn't really even a rare occurrence for me. This is frequent, This is, I mean, I don't want to say frequent. I don't want to say that I'm a person with these kind of tendencies. I don't think I'm a person at risk. I'm not going to say I don't think. I know I'm not a person at risk. I don't think my life is in any danger because of myself and because of my mental health problems. But it's just something that happens. It's just something that happens. Um, but then I feel like, the danger of normalizing it. And then it's like, well, maybe not. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Because then it's like, this is actually a really dangerous thing, though. Because it's like the stupidest thing you could do. It's the worst thing you could do. And sometimes it is totally the easiest thing you could do under some mental states because of how wild and kooky our little mind is. It's just like like it's just wild that it will, like, sometimes depression can become so overwhelming. It's just like, this is the only way out, because our whole entire lives are going to be like this, and we're going to wake up tomorrow and we're going to feel like this. We're going to feel like this all day. And that's not true, but in that moment the mind is so clouded. um, but yeah, it happens today. It doesn't happen 2 years ago, and it's not some 16-year-old phase. And I think it's wild because whenever it happens to me, I think about a point where I was in legitimate danger, and I was legitimately intentioned um, to do that and to follow through on that, you know? Um, and I think it's just wild to me that I was in such a state that I was legitimately thinking of that as the only possible option. Um, so a part of me is a little bizarrely happy when I experience these thoughts now, because even though they're morbid and uncomfortable and just make the situation of my current emotional state feel wildly more dramatic and concerning, it also helps me to understand the progress that I've made in handling these kind of concepts and disregarding this solution as the not solution that it really is, um, because of just how fragile our mind state is. Because imagine you follow through on that off of a crazy fragile whim, when maybe the next day you could have had a crazy fragile whim of thinking about how fire this stuff is, and how great it is that you get to see another movie or something. Um, but it's still something that happens now. I'm not gonna talk to my friends about it, though. I don't want to talk to my friends about that because it's concerning. I don't want to concern my friends, and I hate I'm so sorry, even though it's the response that I expect and it's the response that I appreciate. um a part of me still just wants to experience this alone. um but yeah, I think it's a really fascinating thing. It's just always in the past. It's always in the past. I don't know if it's some kind of linguistic thing, that makes thinking about it always in the past, but I just feel like it's always in the past. Um, Even though, yeah, it's just sometimes it's not. Anyway, though, had a pretty good day today. Aside from that, I've been thinking a lot about Severance. Severance is getting really good. The latest episode is really good. Um, I'm making my best buddy watch it now. We started the first episode, me and her, and it's starting to, like she was into it, which is good, even though she was on her phone for some of it, which sort of annoyed me. But for most of it, wasn't on her phone. It was a W. This is now my like uh I guess it's like my third watch now of Severance, and this show is just still so good. I really hate to be like jumping on the Glaze train of something so immensely popular, but I feel like with television, it's a lot of the time the popular thing is like actually really good. Like with movies, it's not always the case. With books, it's almost never the case. And with video games, it's like 50-50. But with TV shows, I feel like a lot of the time it's something real popular that's actually really gas. Because right now we have Severance, and then we had Arcane, which is my feelings are a little more mixed now, but I still really enjoyed Arcane. Um, Succession, which is supposed to be really good, but I haven't watched it, but that's supposed to be really popular. Breaking Bad, you know, so it's a lot of popular stuff with TV is just legitimately really good. Feels like a more democratic kind of thing. There's more of a democratic metric for quality in television, although there's still some terrible TV, but it's for like serialized television. Um, I collected some photos of mine into for like a submission for some like art magazine in my college. I don't really expect to get into anything, but you know, lately I've been kind of more interested in photography again because every time I look back on my old photos, I'm like, wow, this is actually stuff that I'm pretty proud of. Uh, and It's always pretty interesting to look back because when you for one it's a wild way to look back on your own life because sometimes I'm like looking back on some of this stuff just like holy shit, I can't believe this was a year ago. Like some of this stuff makes me realize how much photography I haven't done over the past year because it's really like some of my really quite recent photography is like a year old. But yeah, it's like I'm looking back, just like I'm really proud of this stuff, and it's also like I look back and like sometimes it's like a picture that I really wasn't too keen on when I originally did it, and I look back and I'm like, this was actually really good. Um, I think it's wild that still some of the photography that I'm really still quite proud of was like some of my earliest stuff, like even like some of the stuff that I submitted is stuff from when I was in my like senior year of high school still, I played some more Metaphor ReFantazio today. I didn't play as much as I kind of wanted to. That game is really good. It's kind of just really good to come back to a Persona game with a little bit more kind of literacy on what makes some video games special and what makes the design decisions of these games special, because when I was playing Persona 5 in like 7th grade, it was just like, oh, I really loved it, but I don't really know why it's so good. It's just like I just keep coming back. But now I'm playing Metaphor and it's just like, oh, it has all these really clever things going on, all of these really clever systems that sort of feed into this whole just one. It's really clever because it has all of these systems that all have these extrinsic motivations, like, oh, you're interested in these characters, you're interested in this world, you enjoy seeing your guy do these chores, but then there's these like sort of collection of motivations like your stats and stuff like that, which all just eventually feed into the battle system. uh, so it's all wrapped up in a neat little bow, and it doesn't feel like there's anything in the game that's just like I'm just wasting my time doing this because it doesn't serve me in any way. It's like even if it's something boring that I don't care about, at least it's still making my guy stronger, which is really really clever. So you could even be hanging out with a character that you don't really like. Uh, like for me personally, I'm sorry, I really don't really find Stroll very interesting. But it's I mean, he's all right. He's chill, but like I liked Ryuji as like the sort of best friend character. I liked Ryuji a lot more, and Yusuke as well. Stroll I find a little boring, but he's nice. He's nice. Stroll's nice, but I find him a little boring. I like Hulkenberg a lot more. Um, but yeah, and also the way that metaphor does the sort of home base thing, like with the Gauntlet Runner, so cool. This is so cool. Like the way that it kind of takes the Persona 5 bedroom and just totally revamps it, because the Persona 5 bedroom already felt special because it was like I can't do everything that I want to do, but this moment still feels special because there's only a few things that I can do with this moment, you know? Like I can't go out and hang out with my friends, so here's a perfect time for me to get in my studying. The Gauntlet Runner, so you could still hang out with your friends if you want to, and it still feels contextually appropriate and special because you have your Gauntlet Runner friends. But then it adds this super, super cool ass vehicle and this sort of like fantasy road trip appeal where it's just like you're on this road trip and you're passing time, reading books by the window, talking to your friends. That's just so cool and really kind of adds to the atmosphere and immersion of the game. And I love like the way that when you're going to a new location, uh, they sort of like to like they have this little storybook like narrator, kind of describe what the characters are doing. That's such a beautiful touch. Um, but yeah, and then I ended up. What else did I do? I've been getting more into history a little bit lately. I've been watching those oversimplified videos, and this is kind of a little bit of like a guilty pleasure of mine because these are literally videos that like the weird kids in middle school who were too into World War II and shit would watch, and like these are literally the videos that like history professors would play and shit. Um, I wouldn't call them slop. Um, I recently got a little bit corrected on my usage of the term slop. It's definitely not slop because it's educational, but it's still just like, wow, I'm really watching. I'm really watching this stuff. That's kind of crazy, uh, But it kind of really, I've been kind of here and there, sort of interested in history. But like right now, I kind of really randomly got into it because I was like reading a thread about how the Norman invasion of England like changed, the English language and stuff like that. This is stuff we all know, about how the royals used French, the commoners used English, and it sort of led to the kind of Germanic romantic blend language that we kind of have now. But I think that the impact that history has on linguistics is just really fascinating, and how that literally all happened because of one fucking like dude who was like pissed off that he wasn't the king of fucking England and totally raided the whole fucking country. That's so crazy. Like our whole entire language, the whole entire way we communicate is completely different because of this one guy who is probably like a huge asshole. I didn't do enough research. I don't really know if William the Conqueror was like a huge asshole, if he was in the right or in the wrong. There's probably nobody in the right or in the wrong because it was like it was like literally 1,000 years ago, and these people were probably all crazy. Um, but yeah, I was watching the oversimplified video about World War II, and I feel like kind of really uneducated about World War II. Um, Even though I understand how important it is, but I feel like I always kind of don't know enough about it. But watching that video, even though it was literally just like a baby history video, and I haven't read a book or anything about this shit. It's really crazy how just like so much just goes back to just that event, uh, and it was kind of making me think about how I don't think we'll ever have world peace. I don't think it's ever gonna happen. I feel like Um, it feels like it's in our blood and it's in the ground. This is what I've been thinking. It's in our blood and it's in the ground. Like I feel like we have this natural compulsion to believe so firmly in this power of nationalism, uh, and that's why it's in our blood. We have this weird compulsion for power and nationalism, and to make our side greater and our side more powerful. Um, but then it's also in the ground because we have this momentum of all these other people who had this compulsion in an even stronger, even more demented way. And even as time goes on and our morality gets maybe sort of better, but who really knows? And as technology improves, it's like we still have this, this momentum. We're still fighting these conflicts from like 100 years ago. We're not past this. We're still defending these nationalities that were established so long ago. And at this point, it's just like, what does it mean? I feel like as an American, I can't really understand nationalism or patriotism because I don't really feel that way when I think about the United States of America. I think of it as like well, I mean, obviously, I don't like it. I don't like what the United States stands for, but, in a utilitarian way, I just understand that it's an umbrella that keeps, you know, the I guess the country, I guess the state that I'm actually more passionate about where I'm, from, which is Florida, that I actually identify with, because you can't just identify with being from the U.S. Like, I mean, like I do, but it's just like it's not like I'm, proud of that. I would say I'm a little proud of being a Floridian, but I just understand the United States is just like this place that we live that has the government that keeps everything organized and stuff like that. It doesn't do a very good job of it, but that's what it does. But it's just like wild to think about this conflict in Europe between all these people uh, that are just so passionate about their people, like Germany. Like Germany was just like, we're gonna make the whole world Germany. That's so crazy to me. That's just so unbelievable. And I mean, obviously that's crazy, and obviously Germany had a lot of crazier stuff going on. But I just feel like that concept is just so wild, and that just led to this huge conflict and this enormous loss of life. Um, it makes me kind of wish that the natural human mindset was just kind of pushing for just a global greater good. But I guess it's just not. I guess it's just not in our blood. It's not what's in our blood. We could put it in our blood, but it's not what's naturally there. I guess maybe I'm wrong, but this is just kind of what I've been thinking about. So I've been watching the history videos. Still kind of obsessed with Severance right now. I kind of slowed down on my book reading. I was reading The Mysterious Affair at Styles because I felt bad. This girl from my astronomy class last semester, she lent me that book and I'd never really read it. I've been reading it and I've actually been really enjoying it, but I've been kind of slowing down and I need to finish it up. I got all this homework to do and stuff. But I should go to sleep soon actually. I don't it's not like I gotta wake up early or anything, but I do got a show tomorrow. Jeff Rosenstock, Soul Glow, Bad Operation. Never listen to any no, that's wrong. Never listen to any Bad Operation, but I love Soul Glow and I love Jeff Rosenstock, so I'm so excited. Uh, and I'm going with my buddy who doesn't really know either of them, but it's still gonna be fun. Um, and yeah, and I guess the last thing I've been thinking about, I'm thinking about moving, and I've been thinking about just the potential. Like I was originally pretty down about moving out, but I've been thinking about, like, my mom told me, she's like, you're gonna have a bedroom and then I'm gonna let you have, because this is a 4-bedroom house we're moving into. It's a small 4-bedroom, but it's a 4-bedroom. um we're living with this guy who's my brother's uncle. He's getting his own room and stuff like that, and then my mom's getting her room, And then my mom's like, because, I feel bad that I guess, we're moving you out and I don't think anybody else will be using it. You could have 2 bedrooms and it's like, one can be like your lounge. And that's like literally like at first I was bummed because just like, oh man, like we're moving to like a kind of shitty part of Hialeah. I kind of really kind of identified with being a Broward fucking jit, dude. Like I kind of like this, I was born and raised. Well, I wasn't born here, but I was raised here. I was like, I kind of identified with it, and I started, getting a little attached to this apartment. Used to hate this apartment. Used to wish we moved out of this apartment. Now I'm kind of attached. But it's just like you telling me I could have my own room where I could just put my TV and shit, and it's like separate from my bedroom. Like, all right, I'm signed up. Like, I'm signed up. Um, and I'm thinking like I could probably maybe set up maybe a little gym or something like that there. Maybe like just buy a few weights or something like that. That would be good. Um, and and fucking yeah, so looking forward to that. Been thinking about that. Hoping that my photography gets accepted into this magazine because what the big L was. Because I'm thinking about my photography more recently because this girl posted like, oh, all, visual artists and photographers in South Florida, if you have, anything, like vivid or something like that, shit. And I was like, like what she was describing matched up with a lot of my work. I sent her a whole bunch of stuff and she was like really receptive. She was like, oh, we like this picture, can you get it printed? I go out, I get it printed, I tell her. She's like, we need to meet up quick. Like she's clearly working on a tight schedule here, and I'm like, all right, we get it printed real quick. And I'm telling her like, it's all printed. Where can I meet you? When can I meet you? Like, when do you want to do this? No response. Like, okay, I guess my pictures aren't being in a Netflix series, like fuck me, I guess. But yeah, so I guess that didn't really turn out. I kind of really got my hopes up. Those prints were not super cheap. Not expensive, but like, it was still like I paid like $20, so I guess fuck my $20. But yeah, kind of a morbid video today, I guess. Literally my first video on this channel. Kind of morbid video about a pretty dark topic, but well, I'm kind of hoping that after this it kind of is like a little less mystified, a little less dark feeling. It's like not really a, oh, I'm gonna do it. It's more just like, oh, it's just something that I think about sometimes, and it's just kind of a truth. It's just kind of a fact. It's probably a truth with any people who deal with depression or have dealt with depression in their lives, even if they've won. It's still something that happens. And even though when we talk about it, it feels automatic that we're talking about the past, but sometimes we're not necessarily talking about the past. And then it ended up just being like a little video diary. But yeah, I think that's it for me. Good night, Robert Nation. Hope to see y'all in the next one, maybe if I make another one.